Hello and welcome back to another episode of Mona's Rants. I am your host, Mona Sheikh. You guys, what's happening? If you guys want to run for office, look no further. We have all the answers. I have an awesome expert friend person here that's going to break it down to you step by step. If you want to run for office, how do you do it? So before we do that, I got my buddy James here. James said, "What day is it?" Okay, Alexa says Tuesday. So it's Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, everyone. James is here. Hi, James. Hey, Mona, always a pleasure seeing you. Beautiful. Always nice to see you, Tim. I love how Tim always comes in with all caps. Smack those thumbs up, people, as you come in. Let's show Mona some love. Appreciate it, Tim. Always a pleasure. All right, let's get to brass tacks over here. I have my friend, my returning guest, because I love having her, and she's like family. She's someone I just love and adore. She is also the co-founder of the Women's March in San Francisco, and she's going to tell us about her political endeavors. Here's my very talented friend, Sophia Andary. How are you?
Well, hello.
What's happening? Hi, how you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me, and thanks for that introduction. With the exception of, I don't have all the answers. If I did,
some of them.
I have a good amount of the answers.
Would you stop playing?
Not all.
Would you stop downplaying your awesomeness? Would you just cut the crap? Okay. cut the crap.
Yes, ma'am.
There's no cut the crap. All right, let's get to it. So, Sophia,
let's get to it.
Tell me about. You told me this thing about called Adams, and I thought you said Adam, and I was just like, I already know that about myself. I don't need you to find that out.
No. I thought you were calling me that. Okay, no. Okay. That's that's what you texted me. Don't even play. Don't even play. It's actually called Adams. Okay. That's something that I'm running for right now. Okay. So Adams is Assembly District Delegates. And I'm running for the for Adams, California Democratic Party. So the way it works, no one knows what Adams are. That's one of the biggest issues that I think we need to figure out in politics is how do we educate people with the different ways they can get involved. And Adams is one of them, right? There's so many different ways that people can get into politics. Okay. It doesn't have to be their career. It can just be, Adams would be something, of course, because I love to do everything for free. It is also a volunteer position, right? Because I just keep check marking all my volunteer positions. As my family says, "Are you going to get paid?" I was like, no, not for this one either.
No, it's all just charity work. It's one walking giant charity right here. This is it.
So the way Adams works is it's every 2 years there's an election, and it's every 2 years in the odd January. So the election happens in January 2021 and then January 2023 and so on and so on. So Adams, what it is, in California, there are 80 assembly districts. Okay. In the total California. From each district, there are 14 delegates that get elected to be a part of the California Democratic Party as assembly delegates. Okay. So whenever you see the convention, right? The Democratic Convention for California, right? Yeah. A lot of the people that are there are delegates. Okay. So you have 80 districts in entirety in California. From each one, 14 get elected. And the way a new law, I don't know exactly when it was created, but it has to be 7 female identified and then 7 non-female identified. Now, what that means for the non-female identified is it can be male identified, non-binary individuals. They would be seen as the non-female. So to make sure that it stays kind of equal, to make sure that there's enough representation, especially for women, that was a rule that was enacted. So 14 get elected from each of the districts. Right. Pull out a calculator. I don't know, 80 times 14. That's the number of delegates that
You're putting a brown kid on the spot here.
I said put out an ad. I don't have. I'm
I
on my
fucking dropped
phone.
out of college. Like,
I'm on my phone. I don't have my
you think I can do this? Like, you have way too much faith in me. It's like alarming. Like, why would you want to have no faith in me? Like, wow. I had literally had to. That's 80 times 14 is 1,120. Says my calculator and not my brain. Yeah.
So those are the ones that get elected. There are also individuals that get appointed. I don't want to get into too many details about the appointed, but like senators, people that are already in politics in California, they are able to appoint delegates, right? I think it's 1/3 they get to appoint delegates, okay? But the election process, anybody can run as long as you are a Democrat. You can't be a Republican trying to run for the Democratic Party, right?
What? That's crazy.
What do you mean, what? It's for the California Democratic Party. It's like, oh, I'm going to get them from the inside.
Show up with my MAGA hat to the I'm here.
Hopefully no one is showing up with MAGA hats anywhere unless they, yeah. But yeah, so that happens. So this is, it's kind of one of those hidden secrets, right? So if I'm elected as, one of the 14, I'm in Assembly District 19. So in San Francisco, there's 2 assembly districts. There's AD 17, which is the east side of San Francisco, and AD 19, which is the west side of San Francisco. Okay. But from my side, it also includes part of San Mateo County. It includes Daly City and two other smaller cities. So it would be, if I get elected, I would be a delegate, one of 14 in total for Assembly District 19. Now, voting, this is why no one knows about it, okay? Unless you're in the know, right? I didn't even know about this 6 years ago, right? That just goes to show you, right? So pre-COVID, you have to go in. There's only a few places you can go and vote pre-COVID. So, and it's usually, I don't know exactly how many places per district, right. But you would go and you would vote, right? And it was only, I don't know, I think it was only like a day or a couple of time frames. I'm not sure, but it's very limited. But the election happens, basically, if you don't go vote, then, or if you don't know about it, to go vote, because it's not during it's a special election. It's a small election. It's not part of a large election. It's not on the regular ballot, right? Like when you get a regular ballot, like we just had an election, right? It gives you the president, the senators, it gives you everybody that's up for re-election or running for supervisors, which is city council, basically, right? In this case, it's its own thing. So if you don't go out and actually seek it, you don't know about it. So the only people that know about it, I always used to joke, I'm like, oh, it's probably like whoever voted for you is your friends and family. That's about it. Right. And the people in the know, like people that are very involved in the political arena, that want to make sure they get the people that they want into the Democratic Party. Because as a delegate, what we do, we vote for who's going to be the chair of the California Democratic Party. And that's a big responsibility, because depending on who you vote as a chair will determine how the party is going to go. Is it going to be more progressive? Is it going to be more status quo? Is it going to be more conservative? Right? Because it can be conservative with the Democratic Party, right? Or do we just want to kind of keep the status quo? Or do we want to actually push a real progressive agenda? So a lot of politicians that are already in the politics, they try to gatekeep, which is the thing that I hate the most. They try to basically get their people elected, right? So that they're able to make sure that they vote for who they want them to vote for. No one can tell me what to do. I think you know that. So I'm pretty independent in my thought.
Yeah.
But the way it.
I have
I'm
a
sorry.
question. I have a
Yeah,
question.
of course.
So, excuse me.
Yes, ma'am.
Please.
Is that a sneeze cough? Whoa, your hair jumped extra that time. I like it.
I think it just gave me extra volume.
It did.
More often.
Lucky.
I should sneeze more often. Wouldn't it be hilarious one day I just take the wig off? You're like, bitch.
You don't have a wig. Don't.
It was a wig the entire time. What the hell? Question. So, this, being an assembly member, like what? First of all, you said it's a volunteer job, right? So you don't get paid for it.
So it's an assembly delegate. So there are assembly members. So for every district, there's an assembly member. Okay. That's only one person gets elected as an assembly member. Right. And that is on like a regular ballot.
Right. And and you're talking about, this is, of course, we're talking about local government. This is just
local government. This is California. I'm pretty sure. I don't know exactly how other states do it, with all honesty. California is enough for me to learn about. It's already enough of a headache for me. But there's every assembly district, the 80, has an assembly member, right? There's only one assembly member. They get elected as well. Right, that assembly member, but the delegates are 14 delegates. So we would go to the convention, we vote on who's going to be the chair, we vote on how the party will proceed, any like propositions. You vote on the executive leadership as well, like who's on the executive board of the California Democratic Party. So it holds a certain power. It's 100% volunteer, right? 100%.
So you don't get paid at all, right? There's no money in it at all.
No money at all, right?
It really is just about, hey, I don't like the local politics. I don't like the way things are done in my district, and I really want to run for it. So are you now running for it? You're running for AD-19? Yeah.
Assembly District 19. Yeah, I'm running to be a delegate of the the California Democratic Party. So the people that can vote for me, they have to live in my district. You could only vote for the people that live in your district. So whatever district you're in, I'm not sure. I think Linda is, what was Linda? Glendale, I think was 43. I think I looked it up for Linda, and I told her, I was like, you need to register to get a ballot. Now, because of COVID, they can't do an in-person vote. So what they did this year was you had to go online, register to receive a ballot before January 11th. Okay. If you don't register before January 11th to get a ballot, you can't vote. Right. Okay. So we were all rushing to make sure. So for me, I only concentrated on people that live in AD-19 or locally to help me get to people that live in AD-19.
They're the only ones who can vote for you too.
They're the only ones. Yeah. So when you request a ballot, when you go online, when you go to that website to KDUMS, and I can give you all of that, and after you can kind of include that, those links so people can look into it further. Yeah. But when you go to the website, you basically request a ballot. You can also click, because most people don't know their assembly district, and it tells you your assembly district based on your zip code, right? So,
got it. Yeah. So why do you want to further do volunteer work as you always do? Because somehow
I don't know.
Money is against your religion somehow. Making money is
yeah, right.
I don't know what's going on. Why are you so passionate about running for AD-19? Like, why? Where does that come from? Why?
Yeah, so I think, I've been wanting to get into the political arena, and I'm an activist, right, outside of my full-time job, which I just got laid off as of yesterday. Oh. So that's the only, wow. Now I'm looking for actual employment, but I know, yeah, it's okay. We'll talk about it later. Don't worry. I'm in a good place. It's not. Okay, it was a toxic environment, and I'm glad I'm out.
Good. Okay.
So, but that's one of the reasons I want to continue to fight. Right? Is I'm tired of toxic environments.
Yeah.
Can you still hear me? Because I think we're glitching.
You're glitching a little bit, but I can hear you.
You can still hear me?
Looks like you're in space, but yeah, I can totally hear you though. You're like as if like you're like going through space. No, but I can hear you just fine. It's okay. If you just keep talking,
Okay.
it'll just pick up.
All right.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll pick up in a second.
Yeah.
So I've been wanting to get into the political arena, right? You can't just jump in and be a supervisor, which in San Francisco, it's called a supervisor. In other counties or cities, it's usually City Hall, right? Somebody to be at like, to be at City Hall, to work at City Hall, to be, I don't even know what the heck they call it in West Hollywood, or I'm not sure. But it's supervisors over here, right? So this is a good way for me to get into the political arena. It's a good way for me to connect with state, other delegates from other states, but also assembly members, also House representatives, right? Because what happens is they want to connect with you to be like, hey, please vote for this, please vote for this, please vote for this, right? Because as a delegate, they want you to, you know, if they put out a measure or they put out certain propositions, they want support from delegates, right? Because delegates are involved in the political side of it.
Sure.
So it's a good way for me to kind of dip my toes, right? It's not a huge time commitment. That's one of the other reasons that I did it as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm a delegate yet. I'm not going to find out till February 9th, I believe.
Oh wow! So you don't even know if you're being even considered for it yet.
Well, no. So all of the ballots went out and people would vote, right? They vote for 14 people. You can't vote for more than 14 people. And it can be women, it can be female identified or non-female identified. It's a matter of just, you can only vote for 14. I believe on my ballot, there was, I don't know, over like 30, 40 people, maybe a little more, that were running in my district. Yeah. And I ran with a slate of progressives. And what a slate is a group of people that have a lot of the same kind of core beliefs, a lot of like we're running on the similar platform, right? So we're running on a very progressive platform. So I'm running with a slate called Progressive Alliance, AD19.
Okay.
And the reason we do slates is like, it's a lot easier for 14 people to help each other out and to get people to vote, right? Like, please vote for me and vote for these 13 other individuals that would be great for this assembly, right? Yeah. Because it is such a small, because 14 people get elected, right? So why not help each other and lift each other?
Sure. No, so, I was trying to ask you, what I really wanted to know, on like more on a personal note, like I know you said that you want to get in the political arena, and now with your job situation, you have a lot more time. What is it personally that drives you? What is the thing that you see in the government and then you're just like, that's really missing? Like, that's something personally I can bring to the table.
Yeah, diversity, right? Representation.
Yeah.
Right. One of the biggest issues is, we throw out that, oh, Democrats, blah, 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 like we're liberal. That's not true. The Democratic Party has so much work to do, sure. Right? We have racism, we have systemic and structural racism, we have major sexism, right? Like that doesn't, we're better.
You're talking about major sexism within the Democratic Party? Is that what you're referring to?
Oh, absolutely. Right. You still have, I mean, sexism is a huge issue, right? Misogyny and sexism is a huge issue, but there's still quite a bit of issues, right? Like a female politician is put at a much different standards than a male politician, even within the Democratic Party. It doesn't change.
Sure.
Right. It really is no different. Right. So one of my biggest things is I really want to have, number one, more women, right? Clearly, more women of color, more representation, more queer women, black, more brown, more Muslim, more Hindu, more Jewish. I don't care. More atheists. I don't care. I just want more representation. I want different voices being involved in the political arena, right? Because the problem is, like I said, a lot of these gatekeepers, right, like assembly members especially, right,
Yep.
or Democratic Party chairs, right, or different clubs, different presidents and chairs of different Democratic clubs, because they play a big role in trying to get people elected, right? So if you go to my website, you can see all the people that endorsed me and which clubs endorsed me,
Sure.
right? But
the nightclubs that endorsed you too, or is it?
Yeah, they did. All the nightclubs endorsed me. You know that.
Clubs? Any comedy clubs endorsing you?
No. I should have asked you for an endorsement, man.
I could have gotten you the Punchline or something to endorse you, because they're not doing so well during the pandemic. Sorry.
Without a doubt.
Sorry, you were. It is, Sophia. Like when I don't know if you recently. AOC just did an Instagram live, I think, like yesterday or something like that, and she went on and talked about. And she got really emotional about it because she's a survivor, right? She's a victim of sexual assault. And she talked about how Capitol riots and how these people that were coming to kill, they were like the insurrection of how folks were coming to kill her. Oh, I can't hear you. I don't know what happened. You got, your voice disappeared. I have no idea. I don't think moving the phone around like that is going to do anything. I don't think that's how technicality works. I don't think that's how tech works. Can you talk? I can't hear you. Yeah, you were talking, and then you want to take the headphones out and see if that works? Can you talk? Yeah, I don't know what happened there. Why don't you go back out and come back in? Yeah. Anyways, Sophia's gonna come back, but I was telling Sophia, AOC recently went on Instagram Live, I believe it was yesterday, and talked about that she's a survivor of sexual assault, and she got really emotional about it. And she talked about something really profound. She said, when the Capitol riots happened and the insurrection happened, and how these folks were coming to look for her, they were walking through, they're walking through the Capitol building, calling out AOC's name while she's hiding, protecting herself, and how that trauma compounds, right? Like the fact that you're a sexual assault survivor, and then all of a sudden all these people are coming to kill you that are basically being summoned by your fellow, Republican congressman or whoever, and you're there fearful of your life. And she talked about how trauma compounds, and it really was really fascinating and amazing to listen to, because here we are. This is exactly the thing that Sophia's talking about. I think Sophia, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I was just talking about how AOC did an Instagram Live, and she got very emotional about being a survivor of sexual assault, and how the Capitol riots and all these fucking douchebags that were coming after to kill her, and they were calling her name out as they were walking through the Capitol, right? Yeah. Like, AOC, come out, as if it's some fucking horror movie, They're like calling her out, and she was like, trauma compounds. She goes, she's like, people who are telling her to move on, it's like, you personally have never experienced that level of trauma. It's not easy to just move on. If you're a survivor of sexual assault, it probably took her years. I mean, she was so triggered by it. Like, you could just see it. Like, she was like welling up, because it's not something that just leaves you. The fact that there are people coming to fucking kill you because they're being, summoned by your fellow fucking Republican Congress folks, that's beyond disturbing. So the thing that you're talking about, representation, voices, those are super important. That
it does, right? Like, you need people that have lived experiences, right? You can't just have people that are coming from the same arena, people that are coming from the same storylines, right? You need that representation. And the way to do it is you make sure there's different voices, there's that diversity, but also going to what AOC was saying and what happened, people have been making fun. That's right. I'm like, that just shows you the misogyny and sexism, and not just that, the masculine toxicity that we have.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And not just that, we're talking about violence against women.
That's correct.
That is such a prevalent thing in the world,
That's
including the US.
That's correct.
Right. As a commissioner, we work with a lot of groups that work with gender-based violence, domestic violence, right? Trafficking, sex trafficking, kids trafficking, all of that, right? During COVID, that spiked, especially violence against women.
That's right.
And it's so normalized, and it's so like, most people don't talk about it or don't even care, right? And they laugh about it, but that what happened, that in itself, them going through and calling out her name, right? First of all, they're terrorists, 100%. Those are domestic terrorists, white supremacist, piece of shit Nazis, period.
That's
period. If those are patriots, then fuck that.
Right.
Those are not patriots.
They're patriots like I'm fucking Swedish.
Yes. I mean, you could be Swedish. Just put on an accent. No?
They aren't this dark. They're as white as you come. Like,
but at the end of the day, that's why I think it's important slowly, right? I mean, California, everybody's saying, oh, we're liberal, progressive. That's not actually true. If you look at different parts of California, it can be pretty conservative. And the Republican Party has been doing a lot in San Francisco and the Bay Area to try to get people elected that are Democrats, but that are what we call kind of the status quo Democrats, the money Democrats, right? The ones that are fiscally conservatives, the ones that are about corporations and not about the individuals. That's why I want to run, because the corporate, I want to run for the individual person. I want to run to give a voice to the people that need it the most, and that's the everyday person that's working their butt off.
That's right.
That's trying to make a living, that's trying to just exist and have a family and be who they are and who they want to be, right? I don't want to put laws against anyone, right? Everybody should be their authentic self. And that's one of the biggest reasons that I want to run.
Not the Kardashians, because they don't even know what authentic is, but maybe not them, maybe not the Jenners, maybe not
no, that would be the last thing on my mind. But that definitely like the everyday person, right? That's who I want to fight for, and that's who, not just who I want to fight for, that's who I want to elevate, and that's who I'm hoping we can get more of to get into the political arena, right? Because there's so many different ways. As a commissioner too, I was appointed to the Commission on the Status of Women by Mayor London Breed of San Francisco, right? That's an appointment, but there's so many different commissions, and you can technically apply as well to be a commissioner. But you just have to be appointed, in some cases elected. The school board commission is elected. So they are actually on the regular ballot and they get elected. But they hold so much power. What people don't realize is, you're sitting on a school board commission and you're like, oh yeah, that's nothing. No, they have a lot of weight in San Francisco. And a lot of the city council members, that was the name I was thinking of, a lot of the city council members, again, San Francisco, they're called supervisors. They were on commissions. They were on the school board commission. They were city college commissioners, right? So that's also a lot of times a stepping stone, but you learn a lot. That's also you get a stipend that's basically, I think, like $20 a month. So that doesn't, that's not like you're rolling in the cash. It's still pretty much a volunteer position, but it is a good way to get in, to learn, to give back to your community, especially if you want to move up. But that doesn't necessarily mean you need to become mayor or city council. You can just be a commissioner, and you don't have to go further. Again, you would have your own regular job, but it is a way to get involved in local politics.
Yeah. I mean, Sophia, I think local politics is, I mean, I've had mayor of Irvine, I've had a mayor of Artesia, those are cities here. And I've had them on, and they explained to me about how local government works and how you kind of work your way up to state level and then federal and so on and so forth. And I think what you're referring to is really important, and it's exactly that, right? It's exactly kind of running on a local government level and then just kind of working your way up, and which is super important. I 100% agree with you. I wanted to actually just kind of briefly talk about how we consider that even the Democratic Party is a spectrum, right? It's a spectrum of, just like you said, corporate Democrats that are fiscally conservative.
It's different shades of blue.
It's different shades of blue, for sure. Right. All the way to Bernie Sanders and AOC, who are like absolutely. Totally on the opposite end of super progressive, right? Which is why Bernie could not win the Democratic nomination. That's why he's not the president of the United States. He is too progressive. American society is not ready for Bernie Sanders. Not yet.
The problem is
his ideology they're not ready for.
It's not their ideology, it's their ignorance. They're not ready because they let fear control them.
Sure.
Right? Because at the end of the day, think of it this way, right? Everybody's like, oh, he's a communist. First of all, look up what communism is. He's not a communist. And he said, he's a democratic socialist, right? And I also see myself as a democratic socialist, right? Yeah. At the end of the day, what he was fighting for is representation, that your government should be working for you. Not working for corporations, not working for the banks, not working, for other countries, right? Like, it should be working for you. As a citizen, you are paying taxes, right? And this is where a lot of like the politics and religion, like I always tell people, leave religion out of politics. Okay. Right. Like I'm fine with whatever religion you are, practice whatever religion you are, remove it from politics. I don't care what religion it is, what country we live in, it needs to be removed from politics, because that should be personal. You should never be able to dictate laws based on your religion. What if somebody else isn't the religion, right? You need to remove that, right? And we have a huge issue about that in the US, right? We have all these Christians, right, that are, anti-choice, pro-life, right? But they're for the death penalty, but they're pro-life, right? And they're for kids being in cages, and they're for people going homeless and hungry and getting kicked out of their homes, right? So it's like it's just a matter of like we have so much control, so much control and of our minds, like not control of our minds, but we have so many people telling us to think and feel these different things that at the end of the day, sit down and actually reflect of what you want. You might want a family, you might not. That's your choice, right? You might, want to work and make gazillion dollars, or you just want to work, be comfortable, be able to travel, hang out with friends, hang out with family, right? It's a matter of just live and let live, right? I think that's an expression, right?
Yeah.
It's a matter of that. The problem is you have all this ignorance of like people saying, throwing the word communism, of saying he wants to tax. No, he doesn't want to tax the average person. He wants to tax somebody that makes $400,000. You should want to tax somebody that makes $400,000.
Sure.
Like a year, right? How many of us make $400,000 a year? It's not that many, right? So this is where it drives me insane. Some of the poorest people, right, are always going against
their own
their interest. always, right? But it is, but that's where you have the hatred, just the racism, right? That drives that hatred, or that, the xenophobia in general, right? Like, oh, like, Trump, the first thing he did, one of the first things he did was Muslims aren't allowed in this country. Yay, yay. What the? This country is built on freedom of religion. You're literally going against what this country is saying.
That. As long as they're Saudis, I mean, I'm all
I mean, listen, I'm not a fan of Saudis 100%, but it's ridiculous, right? Like, it's ridiculous to it's just ridiculous. Like, I get it. I get that, Bernie might have rubbed people the wrong way, but if people actually really just listened to what he was saying,
right,
and really considered it, he's not out there. He's not what he's asking for is what we should have, right? As people that, as people that pay taxes, we contribute to society. We should want that, right? We shouldn't we should want there to be a future. We should actually care about climate change. We should care about Medicare for all, right? Yeah. Like, how are we're the United States of America, right? The freest country in the world. That's bullshit, right? How do we not have Medicare for everyone? How do we not have, it's ridiculous.
I'm with you. I'm totally with you. I mean, somebody should be paying for my Botox. I mean, like,
you don't need Botox. You do not get Botox, do you?
Not yet.
There's nothing wrong with that. What do you want to be like this? Like,
it's called the 11. I just want to.
Don't do that. No,
I just want to have a shiny face, Sophia.
No, you'll be like a stretch. No, please.
Every time you see me, you're like, Mona, why do you look like a surprised catfish? I'm like, Medicare for all, bitches. For all.
See, now people are gonna think that that's what people will spend money on. You can't spend Botox money for Medicare for all, people. If you're listening to this, Mona, stop it.
I'm totally messing with you.
Damn comedians.
Sophia. Listen, we make the world a better place.
Yeah, you do. No, I love you guys.
I love you too. I look at the politics. So now, Sophia, when I emceed the Women's March in San Francisco, thanks to you, since you are the co-founder, I two things. First, now that Biden's president, what happens to the Women's March? Are we no longer going to have women's marches? What happens to them? Do they just disappear? We wait till another Republican comes in power, and then we're like, after how does this work?
It was, it's not, I always tell people, kind of separate it. Like, it's not that a Republican came into power, right? It was that a piece of shit came into power. An orange piece of shit came into power, right? It was more about that. Yeah, I mean, even the Republicans should be ashamed, right? Like, it's not, there was Democrats that voted for him, right? So it's not necessarily just that simple, right? Democrat versus Republican. It was a matter of the reason why it was created, right? The reason why it came about is because we as women, right, we didn't think that we're going to have to refight for everything that we already have the short end of the stick. We still have the short end of the stick. Right. We didn't realize that, okay, now we're going backwards and backwards by allowing a sexual predator, by allowing an openly racist, right? An openly racist, openly sexual predator. I mean, he said it himself, right? It's not like he said it with his own words, right?
And by the way, that's not how you grab a pussy. Like, you literally cannot grab a pussy that way. Like,
did you try it?
I've tried grabbing my own. It doesn't work that way. It just doesn't, Sophia. I don't know. I look, it's true. I don't think he's actually ever seen one. He has no idea how it functions.
Yeah.
I don't think he knows.
I don't want to even imagine anything about him and sexual thoughts. That's just
like not. Orange fingers coming towards.
Oh, no.
Yeah. What happened?
No. Well, I mean, yeah, like the little mushroom, orange mushroom, right?
Fucking leaving Cheeto dust on your badge. Like, yo, did you just leave some Cheeto dust? Like,
oh, horribleness. But yeah, but it is a matter of the reason why Women's March came about is because we realized we were going to go backwards. Like we knew as soon as Trump was elected, we knew 100%.
Right.
All hell is going to break loose.
100%.
And anybody that didn't is a fucking idiot.
I agree with you. But I guess my question is, so what happens from this point on?
From this point on, yeah, absolutely. I think we just had our fifth Women's March. I'll send you the videos.
Yeah, I was there a part of it. I was there on the virtual.
Oh, you were? Yay! Yeah, but we're gonna post out the videos for anybody that missed it, as well as a website for how they can stay involved. So we well, I mean, two things. We're in a pandemic, right? That's we all know this. Yeah. So when we met around, because usually we start planning around October, November for a march, because it takes a good 2.5, 3 months, and $70,000 in San Francisco. We have to raise. Right.
And nobody funds you guys. You guys have to go out and get
have to go out and get the funding. Yeah, it's all volunteers. No one gets paid. We're all 100% volunteers. We got to raise $70 to get permits, to get porta potties, to get ambulances, to get the stage, the sound. People don't realize how much goes into doing a mass rally and march.
That's right.
Right. And especially doing it right. And when I say doing it right is like ensuring that if anything happens, that that we have an ambulance. Like we paid for 4 ambulances to literally just park. Wow. Right, in case something happens, so they're close enough to be able to get to somebody.
How much does an ambulance cost, Sophia?
A lot. I think that was. I think the total was close to like 16,000 for 4.
Really? Because there was all this talk here a few months ago, before the pandemic hit, that a lot of the celebrities were using the ambulances to get through rush hour. And they were just paying $15,000-$16,000.
Are you serious?
Yeah. No. In the back of the ambulances to cut through, to go from the valley all the way to the west side. And that's what they were doing. They were like hiring ambulances.
And that's not a joke, or are you joking with me?
No, it's not a joke. No, this is a legit thing.
Okay, well, whoever can find out who those people are.
They were talking about the Kardashians trying that.
Yeah, whoever they are, literally somebody needs to put out a list, and those people just, I think they need to be shamed.
Yeah, I think when your butt implant just slips out, I think you do need a bit of it's a bit of an emergency.
Okay, so please don't do a butt implant. Okay.
Like a deflated ass, like one side is deflated and the other one's just sticking out, which is like weird.
You give me way too many visuals when we talk every single time.
That's what
Sometimes it's visuals that I don't want.
That's what they pay me in drink tickets for. Come on, that's what I'm wheeling and dealing over here. Not even doing that anymore.
But when we met, we decided, number one, there's no way we're doing it in person, because we could have done a march, right? We could have done like a celebration, whatever. But we're like, it's COVID. It'll be irresponsible. We're not doing an in-person anything.
Sure.
So then we're like, okay, let's. I spoke to Women's March Oakland.
Okay.
Our neighboring Women's March team. So Women's March Oakland. I spoke to them. Sorry.
I think that's the ambulance called. Oh.
It's the ambulance. I think they're gonna pick me up right now. So, son of a. Hold on.
Is this your new fancy apartment? Is that what
you said? Yes, it is. I think I have my friends coming and they've been texting me, and I'm trying not to reply to them. They're not supposed to come. I didn't invite them. I don't know what the hell's going on.
You need new friends. You need new friends.
I have you. I don't need anybody in my life.
Thank you. That's what I've been saying the entire time. You're not listening to what I'm saying.
No, without a doubt. But what we came up with was, let's do a virtual event together, right? Because the good thing about there's no good thing about COVID, but it makes, we started realizing you can do stuff virtually, right? Like not everything has to be in person. And then it gives you more of a, you can reach more people, right?
Sure.
But the downside too is what people don't realize, right? When it comes to accessibility, some people don't have internet, right? Some people don't have, a computer or a phone where they can like,
I can't even process that, Sophia.
What?
Who doesn't have internet?
People that don't have money, sweetie.
Who doesn't have internet? Who doesn't have a laptop?
Think of it this way, all the people in schools, right now, like all the kids, especially the ones that are,
that's like the privileged side of me talking.
It's right, but that's like understanding that as well, right? There are some people, for schools, right? Like they didn't have a laptop, they don't have the internet, their parents can barely afford to keep the lights on and feed them. How are they going to do homeschooling when they can't even connect to the internet and they don't have a laptop, right? So there's a lot of stuff that we need to change in the system, and there's still so much work to be done. At the end of the day, we decided, we're like, okay, just because Biden is in office and just because we have our first female vice president,
doesn't mean that all the problems are going to go away.
No. Now we need to hold them accountable, and we need to make sure people stay engaged.
Yes.
Because our biggest fear, and this is every activist that I'm speaking to, our biggest fear is, number one, we worked our fucking asses off for the last 4 years to try to make sure to create some kind of a change. Our biggest fear is those people that just showed up to take pictures and say, oh, I came to this march, yay, pat me on the back, right? That, it's just that they were just doing it just to get likes, right?
That's right.
But our biggest fear is that people just kind of like, okay, now everything's good. No, it's not.
That's right.
We have, in the Supreme Court, we have majority conservatives.
That's right.
We have two sexual predators. And we have a woman that doesn't believe in women's rights.
That's right.
Right? So we still have a lot of work to do, but not just that, we still have issues that we need to fix. And if we don't hold the current administration accountable and local politics accountable, then we're just going to continue the cycle.
I agree with you.
So we had a really good program. We had 2 breakout sessions. One is from Moms Rising, one is from One Wage. And the person from One Wage, she's basically trying to fight for $15 minimum wage, right? And getting rid of tipping, right? Because what people don't realize is tipping is very racist. It started out as a way to not have to give money to Black individuals, right? So it was like, oh, okay, no, you're just gonna get paid. Here's a tip, right? So
listen, I've waited tables in New York. I briefly waited tables, and it was rough, man. It was, waiting tables is rough. Like
I couldn't do it.
I was like shameless when I was. I was beyond shameless. Like they used to be like, yeah, you can't ask customers for tips. And I was like, well, why the fuck not? I've been here sitting on my feet for 10 fucking hours. You're paying me $2 an hour. How am I supposed to make a living? Like somebody doesn't tip me. So there would be like $150 check, and people would give me $5-10 on it, And I would live.
And a lot of people don't realize that your minimum was like, I think for some people it was like 2.5, like $2 or $3 or something like that. Like is the base pay, right? And then and people don't realize that. It's like, oh, she's getting paid enough, this is just extra. No, people depend on the tips for the payment, but most people don't know that, right? Again, it goes back to education, it goes back to misinformation, right? It goes against all of that. But we had her on kind of speaking about how people can stay involved and kind of work in that arena with somebody else, and but the idea was we also did a call out to local organizations and some of them that are national to say, hey, can you send us information of what call to actions you have coming up and how can people stay involved with your organizations? So we kind of want to be a hub where people can come to and we can kind of guide them to different organizations. Also, we want to continue to do at least San Francisco. I don't know what other cities are doing, but in San Francisco, Women's March San Francisco is going to remain, right? Yeah. But it's just going to look differently. So we're going to do more panels, more workshops, more informational, educational, probably like panels, but also how can people continue to be engaged, right? And sending them out like that. But we're also a mentorship group, right? Because we mentored, and I personally mentored so many different people on running a march and a rally, including youth. I loved mentoring the youth. I did in October a youth march. Yeah. It wasn't me that organized it. It was youth that organized it. But I mentored them in, okay, this is what you need. This is, you need to get these permits. You can get away with this. You can't get away with that. You should do this, like safety, security, like precautions, all of that. So we're also working on creating a guide, kind of like a PDF file guidebook. Yeah. That we can kind of send out to people, have it on the website so anybody has access to it. It is going to be more local to San Francisco, but the overall general ideas can be used by anyone. Sure. I want to bring up, there's this a fan of mine named Malted in Montreal. Clearly he's in Quebec, and okay, dude, and he's a bartender, and he was talking about how in tips he would make about $300 to $400 a night. Now he's getting paid. He can't work because Quebec is in lockdown, and he's getting paid $450 a week, right, rather than every night. So you were just talking about getting rid of tipping. So he commented about that, and he said my minimum is $11 per hour. That's how much he makes. He said, yeah, but he's in Montreal. He's in Canada. Right, but he said if you get rid of my tips, you better pay me $30 an hour. He said, but I make most of my money by tips. And then of course he said Americans are saying $2. So it's not, I know. So it's not so much as getting rid of tipping altogether. That's not the purpose. The purpose is that the minimum wage should be a livable wage, and anything under $15 is not a livable wage in the US unless you're living in like the middle of the desert, not the desert, but the middle of nowhere in Montana in a cabin, and you're fishing to get your food. Then okay, like maybe $10 minimum wage is good for you, but on average, $15 is already not that great of a wage to begin with. After taxes, absolutely. So the idea is we need to push to that right now, like immediately. It needs to be national. No one can pay under $15. Right. And when it comes to the tipping, I mean, I don't see tipping going away for bartenders for sure. And I don't, but they shouldn't have to rely on tipping, right? Because unfortunately, if you're relying solely on tipping in the US, again, you're in Canada, you're a lot better off, right? You guys have medical, you have a lot more stuff. I understand taxes can be more, but it also kind of evens out. It should be enough. It should be enough to survive on, right? Like you shouldn't have to work 3 jobs. No one should have to work 3 jobs. Agreed. Right? And too many people do in this country. Right. Absolutely. I mean, even as artists, right? I mean, for us, God, yeah. I don't know how you do it. I mean, even as artists, right? I've eaten shit for a very, very long time, Sophia. Yeah. Like very long time, right? It's only in Cup of noodle? Huh? Cup of noodle? Cup of noodle, Spam, dead rats, like whatever it's taken. Yeah. It's whatever it's taken. But being artist, it's hard, man. I mean, it's a hard life. Being a stand-up comic is a hard life. Like
anybody, sometimes I get interviewed and they're like, what advice would you give to be a stand-up comic? I'm like, if you come from a healthy family, there's no need to be a stand-up comic. There's literally no need to be a stand-up comic. Go find another profession that pays you better. Like, there's no need. You have to be like a little bit crazy to do this. Like, you have to be a bit off your fucking rocker to be like, yeah, this sounds about right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm gonna fucking eat shit and I have to do comedy at laundromat and wait 2 hours to do 3 minutes in a laundromat. Yeah, that sounds about right. And I'm gonna get paid in drink tickets. That sounds about right. Yeah, let's do some stand-up. Where are you going? Is this taking you into dark?
Sorry, I'm opening the door. I just realized what my two friends are doing. They had to take. I put furniture that's going to Recology in my parking space.
Okay.
Because they know I have a bad back. I told them I would do it. I would push it out tonight.
Yeah.
I think they came to push out my very heavy furniture outside.
That's
so
fair.
I'm opening the door in case they.
Can they come to my house too? I need some stuff moved as well.
Hey man, they're great. I honestly, those two, my friend Razan and Marguerite and my sister, they were the main. They pretty much moved me in. I just organized stuff.
Good for you. That's wonderful.
For me, it's good to have a bad back.
It's good to have a bad back. It's good to also have people who give a shit about you. So that helps too, you know?
Yeah, I do. Sorry about that. Sorry about that interruption.
That's okay. No, all good. No, I think what you guys are doing with the Women's March, I think is really good. I think this whole conversation that we started off about ADEMS is really good. I feel like people running on I've thought about it. It's funny because I was talking to a friend of mine and he was like, dude, that would be so cool. Like, you should run for local government. And I'm like, yeah, I could, but I'm just like, what about the gajillion other things that I do on the side? What about those things, you know? It's like, so let me ask you, so coming back to being an assembly, so let's say you get picked and you are the, assembly person for Ep.118. How many hours are they expecting you to dedicate per month or per week?
Well, I'm definitely not getting paid if I get elected, right? As a delegate, right?
Right.
I'm definitely not getting paid.
But how many hours are they requiring of you to do that?
I don't think it's that much, to be honest. I don't think it's more. The time that it would be the most is when there's the Democratic Convention.
Okay.
The California Democratic Convention. So then, and listen to this, okay? This is the worst part. You're expected, right? Because the Democratic Convention can be in any city in California. You are expected to get there on your own.
Right. Out of pocket.
Right. So, yeah.
Why isn't there any money in local government, Sophia? What is that about? You're expecting people.
There are. The problem is there is a lot of money. There's a lot of dark money in politics, right?
No, but I'm saying, why isn't there any money being dedicated to local government? If local government, if things are happening on a micro level versus a macro level, right?
Yeah.
It happens on a micro, then it works on a macro level. So I'm saying, why isn't there money? Look, the government has a shit ton of money. What they're talking about right now, passing a $1.9 trillion stimulus package that Biden's asking for. Yeah. We have money. We're the richest fucking country on the planet.
Well, we can also take money from the budget of the military, which
we
spend more money on our military than every country combined. But yeah.
But how is it? So can you as a delegate go and put forward a conversation to be like, hey, why isn't there any money in local government? Like, why aren't you giving any money? You're taking time out of your life, to enhance.
One of the things, the good thing is there are Democratic clubs, local Democratic clubs. There's also organizations that help kind of fundraise for people that want to go. Right, that need to go to the.
Is that what's going to happen if you get elected?
Possibly, yeah. One of the things of being on a slate is people can donate, and I had people kind of ask me like, "Oh, I'd love to donate," and I personally said no to the donations. I think with the exception of one friend who was like really insistent on it, and I was like, "Okay, we can definitely use the money." The good thing is, as a slate, you can raise a certain amount of money. And for the people that get elected within that slate, they can use that money specifically for ADEM related stuff, which includes paying for getting to the convention.
Okay.
So there are ways around that, but it does also limit people that don't have money, right? Because you need to pay a fee to apply. I think it was $30. You have to pay a fee, right, to apply to run for this, right? So there are
You
definitely
got paid to
issues.
apply for a job that doesn't pay you?
Yeah, I know, right? But that
That's
is,
a shitty deal.
Mona, that's exactly why. But this is exactly why it's important to have people that get it, that understand the
Mechanics?
not just the mechanics, that understand the struggles of an average person,
So,
right?
let me ask you this.
So that we can create that change, right? We can say that
Yeah.
we can say that we, as a delegate, we can slowly try to create that change and be like, okay, well, number one, the process of ADEMS is horrible. It needs to be more visible. It needs to be easier for people to apply. It needs to, you guys need to consider that there's some people that can't pay. But the only way you can do that is to change that is you have to get into it, right? You have to be in a position to create those changes, right? So that's why it's important for people that are, listening today, or just anybody, when you're having a conversation with them, get involved. Yes, I understand yeah, volunteering isn't, not getting paid isn't great, but you're creating something. You're also, doing something for your community. Look at it like that. It's also empowering, and I learned so much.
Sure.
So much. So it's also an education as well. Like, think of it that way. Think of it as I'm investing in an education, right? So I'm not getting paid, but I'm getting this education as that's, or I'm getting a seat at this table, so my voice is going to be heard. So you kind of have to think of it like that, and create boundaries, right? Like you need to know when to say no. You need to know when enough is enough, right? You need to know when, okay, at this point I'm not I'm okay financially.
Sorry, are we talking about assembly position, or are we talking about relationships? Sorry, I lost you there for a second. Wait,
both of them, right? I mean, regardless how you look at it, right? Like, that's just it's just like a life lesson, right? But I'm blessed. I have a roof over my head. That's right. I'm not struggling to make ends meet. I have food in my fridge, right? So I feel that, yeah, I'm not super rich. I'm not. One of the reasons is because I do a lot of free work, but
that's because that's the kindness of your,
it's the kindness, and you give back, and you have to decide the kind of person that you want to be.
Yes, I agree. Right? That's the content of your character, right? You're just like, I'm not always here for money. I want to do this because it's the betterment of my community. It's a betterment of, me having a voice to contribute to something good for the greater good, right? Your objective. But let me ask you this: do you want to kind of, maybe like 4 or 5 years from now, kind of just climb up the political ladder to eventually run on a state level or a city level, or try to become the mayor of San Francisco?
I don't think the mayor, but
why not?
I don't know.
I need friends in high places, Sophia. Get to work.
I'll get on a stool.
You get to place. Or you can smoke a joint. Get you in high place.
Okay. You're so silly. No, so I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. And this is a good way for me to figure out if I want to or if I don't want to.
Okay.
Right. I would like to be a supervisor, and again, a supervisor is.
Do they get paid, or do they have to get $30?
They get paid.
Okay. How much do they get paid? $15 minimum wage? What do they make?
No. I think they get paid a decent amount of money. but like a supervisor is you're at City Hall, and every district in San Francisco has a supervisor, and they're basically like the governance, right? So you have the mayor and you have the supervisors. So that holds a good amount of authority. I would want to be a supervisor. I don't see that anytime like soon. But that would be something that I want to work towards, maybe in 8 years.
Okay.
And the reason why I'm saying 8 years is because it's 4 years. I helped volunteer for the person that just got elected to District 1, which is the district that I live in, Richmond District. So she would be on for 4 years, and if she wants to run for re-election, which I hope she does, and I'm sure she will, then it would be another 8 years. And then, depending on, I don't know what's going to happen in 8 years, but if there is an opening, I could potentially go into that.
Okay, that's fair.
Well, I mean, I would have to be elected, right? Like that one is when politics gets politics, right? Like that's a huge, it's a lot of work, right, to get elected for that.
Here's my question, Sophia. Somebody like AOC, right? She ran, in her district, and got elected. But before that, she was a bartender. She was like somebody like you and I, just had a regular job, working, wanted to like change the world, wanted to change what was happening in her district, wanted to challenge, whoever the incumbent was. So why is that something that you also cannot step up and be like, yeah, I'm gonna run from my district and go straight for a federal.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that I can't, right? But California, I mean, okay, so New York isn't necessarily easy either, but California is its own little political beast. It's really hard. There's a lot in San Francisco. People are very political, right? You have a lot more people involved in politics. You noticed, right? Yeah. So it's a lot more competition at the end of the day. It really is, right? And it's kind of like trying to get a job now when everybody's in the market looking for a job. It's no different in San Francisco with the political arena, right? So it's more that, I don't necessarily, I'm like, oh, I want to be the senator, I want to be this. I want to actually do the work, and I want to really stay authentically me, and I want to do the work for the community and do it right. And a lot of people like me, I know how to play the game of politics, but I don't necessarily want to, right? Unfortunately, once you start getting into that higher area, it really is about money. And the problem is, once it gets about money and dark money in politics, to get elected, you need to get the people that have the money. And unfortunately, a lot of them are developers in San Francisco, or, or they're part of the corporate, right? And I'm not willing to take money from people like that. Neither is AOC, don't get me wrong, right? But for AOC, I think it was a mixture of, she's amazing, I love her to death, the timing, she's super intelligent, and it was also the timing, and I think the person that she was running against, people were fed up with to begin with, right? So I think that was kind of,
I mean, she also talked about how she went door to door with her niece and what
people don't realize, so the person that just won in our district, in District 1, to be the supervisor, it was all grassroots. She didn't have big money, but she had dedicated volunteers. I went door knocking for her. I spoke to so many people, and this is during the pandemic, so it was hard. So we were masked up and like really far away, but I would door knock, and the people that wanted to have a conversation with me, they're like, okay, why should we vote for her? And I had an open conversation with a lot of people in my district, but it really made a difference, because you need to have that connection. So I'm not saying it's like impossible for me to be elected as a supervisor. I'm just saying I don't know that I necessarily want to climb that ladder. I think I would rather kind of do more local politics, and really concentrating on creating the change, and whatever comes, right? And it could be that I stay in corporate and I work in diversity and inclusion. It could be that, I work at City Hall in an entirely different area. Because what people don't realize is you don't have to be the face, right? Most of the people that are doing the work are not the people that are the face of it, right? Like you have, for supervisors, you have all of their legislative aides. They are the ones that are doing the work, right? And that's another thing is I would love to be a legislative aide because you learn so much about just how politics works in general, but you're the one that's lifting up and educating your supervisor that you're working for, right? So it could be that I go that route as well, right? I don't necessarily want to be the face. I don't know. I don't know that I want to be.
That's fair. We got Mark Lee here. He said Fernando Zeladon is a great Latin American political activist in your area. Sophia doesn't know. Maybe, Sophia, do you know about this person? Fernando has worked with Maxine Waters and others in that area. Also, Garland Thompson Jr. is a truly amazing artist activist. Do you know any of these people?
No, I mean Maxine Waters, yeah, but no, I don't know.
Sophia, I was listening to you and I was wondering to myself, this America is headed to become a country that is going to be overtaken by brown and black people. Like we are going to end up being the majority in the country.
Yes.
So when that happens, and when white people end up becoming...
Scare the white people more, Mona. Scare them more.
Huh?
I said scare them more.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm saying, but when that happens, right? When the white Americans in this country become the minority, is then the conversation about diversity going to end?
No. It's not just a conversation. It's about representation and actually having power, right?
Right. So let's say the position of power, now the dynamic has shifted where, you're now, I mean, look, right now, the two wealthiest people on the planet are Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, two white dudes, two straight white dudes, right?
Yeah.
Well, we clearly are way, this conversation, we are way farther out from having to have two women or one white woman and one woman of color as the two wealthiest people on the planet, right? We're not there yet. We're clearly barely
We're not even close when it comes to CEOs.
We're not even close to come to the CEOs. Same with directors. Same in pretty much any. I mean, look, if you pick up
executive directors, absolutely.
If you pick up the Forbes list of the top 10 comedians in the top 10 comedians, highest paid comedians, most of them in the top 5 alone, it's all men and straight men. They're not. It's not anybody else. It's not women. It's not white women. It's not women of color. It's nobody. It's men.
Yeah.
So I wonder about that. But that's a little further down.
I don't think. I mean, it's so. First of all, we're not going to get there during our lifetime. I'm sorry, but that's the reality.
You're breaking my heart, Sophia.
I'm so sorry.
How are you going to play me like this, Sophia?
I'm so sorry, but we're not going to get there during our lifetime.
Year 3. Is Andre 3000 going to be around for 3000? Because that name is just so progressive.
Maybe it is. It is. Sadly, we're not, right? But the idea is let's work towards it to make sure that it's easier for the next generation and so forth and so forth, right? We still have a huge issue with sexism. And anytime I say that word, a lot of men are like, well, you can do what you want. I'm like, okay, thanks, but it's not how it works. Like, thank you so much for allowing me to do what I want, but we still have a lot of issues there, right? We still have just for gender, right? And right now, when we also talk about gender in a bigger scope, right, for non-binary individuals, transgendered individuals, right, like they are very marginalized. They are very much mistreated, right? Sure. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like it's just a continued step by step that we still have to take. But when it comes to diversity, we have a lot of work to do for diversity, but we also have a lot of work to do for for anti-racism and anti-blackness within the people of color communities. Like, let's face it,
Listen,
you know,
I've been talking
Middle
about
Eastern. Yeah, we've
this.
talked
Sophia,
about this before,
listen,
right? There is so much racism
listen,
and
there's so much.
sexism.
Agreed. There's so
Yeah.
much white guilt that we throw around. We're like, white people. And listen, yes, no denying that their ancestors fucked up. There's no denying about that.
Oh,
However,
without a doubt.
there are a lot of colors of community right here in America that are quite racist against other ethnicities.
Oh yeah, no, well, without a doubt. I'm dealing with something right now with women of color being anti-black, right, or being homophobic, right, and these are people that are supposed to be liberal, right. Again, that's when you get into those words of like, yeah, you're really not liberal. You can throw out whatever word you want. What are the actions and what are you actually saying?
Maybe they're liberal about certain things. Maybe they're liberal about,
They are, right? Like, they are about certain things, but this is where we need to get away from that thinking, right? Like, oh yeah, like I'm liberal about this, but oh, I don't care about this because it doesn't impact me. That's why we have so many selfish assholes in this world, is because of that thinking, right? Instead of thinking, okay, like we talked about intersectionality. That's what I liked about Women's March. Women's March San Francisco. We were very intersectional. And when we talk about intersectionality, it's a matter of, okay, you're bringing your whole self, but you're also thinking of the overall. So a straight person should be supporting a gay person, right? Yeah. A white person should be supporting a black person. A black person should be supporting a Hispanic person. You know what I mean? It's like, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, okay, just because you're not that, doesn't mean that it's not your fight. If you're not also fighting for those individuals and their struggles, then don't expect anybody to fight for your struggles.
I agree with you. You know what it is, Sophia. Also, I know that there's been a lot of conversation about, well, let's not shame people for things. I am all for greed shaming. If you are,
we should greed shame 1,000%. We have a bunch of greedy assholes in this world.
You're greedy. You're selfish. You don't give a shit about other people. You're all about your own bottom line. I want to fucking shame you all.
Oh, no, we should. And the best way, not just shame, right? Because you can say all you want, right? A billionaire doesn't give a fuck what you're saying about them, right? The way you hit them is you hit them with where it hurts.
Dollars, right?
Right? And you hit them with the dollars. And that's where it's very, very important for people to start actually like looking at who they're giving their money to, right? Like, are you, what services do you use? Are they an ethical company? Do they give a fuck about their employees? Do they treat their employees? Right? Like, I know one of the things, like Walmart was a big thing, right? Like, they barely pay their employees. That most of their employees are on food stamps, right? Well, if they're working for you and they have to be on food stamps, you're clearly not paying them enough. That's right. Why the fuck aren't you paying them enough?
I personally know my mom's friend in Texas, Pakistani woman, lovely human being. I mean, she's on, she works. I mean, they grind her to death, man. They grind this poor woman to death. And she had to, get on welfare just to like pay her bills. It's like, how the fuck could they be grinding you to death work and you still can't pay your bills? Like, that's like that pay disparity has to change. But you know what it is, Sophia? It's kind of across the board. I've been talking about this. Let's just take Hollywood, for example. Yeah. Oh, we're liberal in Hollywood.
No.
We accept everyone. We're so open about diversity.
Hollywood is full of shit when it comes to that.
Yeah, 95% of SAG-AFTRA members, which is what I am as well, which is a very expensive union.
Yeah, I've heard.
Cost you $4,000 to join this.
Insane.
$4,000.
It's insane.
Then you have to pay your dues every 6 months, which is 120, 130, right? 95% of SAG-AFTRA actors make less than $24,000 a year.
Yeah.
Can you even live on $24,000?
Yeah.
Not really. We are still expected to pay our dues. We are still expected to do all that. And it's this feast or famine mentality, right? It's like, if you're starting out, you're an actor, you barely make any money. Or all of a sudden you're just fucking skyrocketed, and now all of a sudden you're a movie star or a TV star, and everybody in the middle is just fucking eating shit. And it's like, yeah, how could you claim yourself to be liberal and progressive when it's fucking just feast or famine? How does that work?
Because at the end of the day, if they're on top and they're thriving, unfortunately, I'm not saying all, because there are some actually really good activists that are that are actors and actresses, but the most part, right, they just don't care, right? Because, right, also, what's their incentive to care half the time? Yeah. Everybody's about making it. Everybody's about their own, right? It's a very much also like one of the biggest problems in the US, right? I love the independence part of it. Like, I love the kind of your own freedoms and,
Sure.
I think it's important, but I think it's important to also have the mentality of community as well.
Yes.
Right? Like, yes, definitely you should take care of yourself, but also consider the community. We don't have that mentality here, right? But people, a lot of people that were born outside of the US or their parents were born outside of the US, we were raised for the most part, to kind of think more collectively in a community, right? Yeah. The way to fix that, the Hollywood issue, you have to this is where activists, right? Anybody can be an activist, right? You activate your damn self and get to work. That's right. You get a lot of people, that are in the industry to basically rise up, right? And say, fuck it, we've had enough. We're not going to pay SAG anymore. This is stupid. This is a shit system. We're getting rid of it. We need to do something that works for everyone, that isn't for the privileged, that isn't for the ones that have money, that isn't gonna, put people in the poorhouse. Sure. But that's the way it's done. But the problem is, too many people don't want to. They don't want to do that work.
Sophia. These people who would possibly cause this kind of uprising will never work in this industry again. Never.
Right. I know, and it's no different in a lot of. I mean, it's the same thing in like corporate life, right? Like, a lot of these companies right now are talking about diversity and inclusion, right? Yeah. So many companies got on that bandwagon, but at the end of the day,
lip service, Sophia.
But it's all lip service. At the end of the day, the most liberal companies, and I as of 2 days ago was working for one. The most liberal companies, when it comes down to it, push comes to shove, they would rather keep the status quo because it works for them.
Sure.
But they want to be seen. They'll give that lip service because they want others to see them, right? They want the consumers to see them as, wow, you're doing such a great job, right? Like, oh my God, they really care. But they don't. Look at their executive leadership. Look at their CEOs. Look at who is making the decisions and who's getting the biggest checks in those companies. Look at that.
Yep.
Base it on that, not what the fuck's coming out of their mouth. Because they're going to say whatever they want to say. But, that's the risk, though, right? That's the biggest risk. If you get, have you ever seen that big fish, the picture of the big fish?
Yes.
And all these little fish? Have you seen that picture?
Yes, I have.
Right, where the big fish is chasing him, but what all these little fish don't realize, when they collectively come together, they are 10 times bigger than that little fish, and they can eat that
bigger fish.
That bigger fish.
That's correct.
Right?
That's correct.
So it's that, right? But that's also the fear, is people don't want to lose their livelihoods. People don't want to get, marked, right? But that's what it takes to create change, is you have to be able to do that. But the thing is, you have to do it smart, right? Yeah. And there's different ways to do it smart, and you do it smart, but you get a good amount of people together, right? Because those are the majority that are struggling.
That's right.
Right? They're not. You get all of those people together, and you get a good amount of them connected and working together, and they start pushing, right? Like, look at Time's Up, right? Time's Up was based on the movement of
Me Too.
Of Me Too, right? But Time's Up was specific to the industry, right? The Hollywood and that industry, right? It took, it took a lot of people standing up and kind of, getting having to be very uncomfortable, but it took a lot of these very courageous women to come forward to put a couple of pieces of shit in in prison, and or in the grave, right? But in one case, right?
I mean, I just yeah. I mean, I know that Me Too and Times Up has been really significant. I mean, if you, by the way, if you get a chance, I believe it's on HBO Max. It's a documentary called On the Record. It's about sexual harassment in the music industry and how Russell Simmons has raped multiple women. All these women came forward and went in grand detail of how he exactly raped them. And it's really sickening. Like when you watch these women, you're just, wow, man, somebody so powerful, somebody who sits there and is like, I meditate every day. It's like, yeah, what are you meditating? Of how you can rape the women? Like, what are you meditating about?
Yeah, yeah. And again, that's fake. That's neoliberalism. It's fake. It's all for show, right?
Sure.
That's why when too many people like throw certain progressive or liberal or moderate or all of that, I'm like, show me what the fuck you're doing. I don't care. I don't care what your title is.
I agree.
Show me what you're doing.
I agree. Sophia, we're gonna start wrapping up. Tell me about where people can visit your website, and how can people go and get involved if they want to run for assembly.
Yeah, so I did create a website, and I'm gonna send you there only because it's easier to link out of there.
Okay.
To go to ADAMS, but if you go to voteforsophiaandary.com, it kind of has my profile. You can't vote for me. I wish you can. That'd be awesome. But it does explain what ADAMS is. And it also kind of, you can click, especially if you're in California, well, you can only find out what assembly district you're in if you're in California. You can click to find out what assembly district you're in for the future, but I put the website on my website, so you can go to the ADAMS main website if you're interested. The next round that you can run in would be January
2023.
Yeah, man, I'm like 20. What are we on? 2023, right?
Let me ask you this, is that just for California, or what about people across the country if they want?
With all honesty, I'm not very familiar with outside politics other than the national scope. I'm not familiar with state politics outside of California because I've never needed to learn anything about it. But the deal is, look into, if you're a Democrat, look into the Democratic Convention, look into being a delegate for the Democratic Party of your state, right? I mean, Google is beautiful. Literally type that in and see what pops up and start doing your research. It doesn't take that long to research as well, especially this day and age, right? Look into that if you're in other states. Also, look into commissions. How do commissions work in the state or county that you live in, right? And how can you get involved in your local commissions? Because that's always a good way to get into the politics. And then you start learning, because it's a matter of like connecting with people that are in it already. And that's how you learn. That's how I learned about ADAMS. I didn't know about ADAMS until my friend Edward told me about them.
Yeah.
And he's like, you need to run. And I'm like, maybe one day. And, and I'm running now.
Yeah.
Right. But that's how you have to do it,
I love it. I love all of it. This is fantastic. Sophia, do you like people to follow you on your social media at all, or?
I honestly use my social media more for personal. We can put my we can put my Instagram, and if you guys you have my Instagram, we can put my Instagram. The only thing honestly is it's private. So if you do a message saying, hi, saw you, at Muna's show.
That's too complicated, Sophia.
I know it is. I know. But then I'll accept it. Okay, maybe I'll unprivatize it. I don't know. this is my thing. This is another reason that I don't want to be in politics. I'm like, I want my personal life. Leave me the hell alone when it comes to my personal life. I already give so much of myself publicly. I'm like, I just want to be alone sometimes, you know, with my friends, right?
You can just change your name to, new apartment in San Francisco, and nobody's going to be able to find it except the private people who want to find you. That's all.
I'll give you. You have my Instagram, right? Add my Instagram. I'll make it public.
Okay. Yeah, do that.
I'll make it public for like a week, and then I'm gonna make it private.
That's bullshit, Sophia.
What? I will have to add me within a week.
I will not stand for this kind of nonsense. I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. No, this is great. Sophia Andary, this was a really great conversation. Very informative.
Thank you, Mona Sheikh. I like how you say my last name.
Did I say it right, Andary?
No, you said it right, but I like that you said my last name.
I love saying your full name, Sophia Andary. That's
Mona Sheikh.
Sheikh. Gotta add the little phlegm at the end. Sheikh. Sophia Andary, I'm going to be visiting you soon, so get ready.
Yeah, man. At least now you don't have to be like, in my living room. Yeah, you don't have to be you don't have to be in all of that.
I'm so excited to come and sleep in your bathtub. I'm so excited. It's gonna be
now you actually can have, you can be in my office, in the aero bed in the office. You're gonna love this place. It's like twice the size of my old place.
I'm very excited. All right, my friend, stay safe out there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you also for the kind comments. Sorry, it's kind of hard when you're on your phone to try to respond.
That's okay. Mark Lee said that you are amazing.
And so are you, Mark. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, my friend. I will talk to you soon. Be well.
Bye, sweetie. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. That was my lovely friend, Sophia Andary. You guys, if you guys want to run for California office, go check it out. Check out the process, adems.com, and you can go on voteforsophiaandary.com, and you can check out ADEMS there if you want to run for assembly in California as a Democrat. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. You can go to youtube.com/Mona Sheikh Comedian. Guys, heads up, no live stream on Thursday because Thursday is a big day for me due to something that I eventually will reveal to you. But because of confidentiality, I cannot reveal to you what I am doing on Thursday, but I will let you know in time. In the meantime, you can subscribe, and you can also follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Mona's Comedy. You can follow me at Mona Sheikh Comedian on YouTube, TikTok, and as well as Facebook. You guys, Facebook, I just did something. All right, you guys, have a good night. Stay safe out there. I will see you tomorrow. Nighty night.